guys.
Hi.
Let's go to Alang's room.
Alright, let's go.
Hey guys. Welcome. Hi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Firstly, we need to know what is mean by procurement. So the meaning of procurement is the purchase of goods and service for public purposes. For example, like currently you are facing flooding in Malaysia, so the government will use the public fund to buy food supplies for the victim flood. And in Malaysia, who is responsible for procurement? Which is the Treasury, the Ministry of Finance. So what is the objective of procurement? Which is to obtain the material and supplies of the right quality, the right quantity, the right time, the right supplier and the right price. And the purpose of procurement is to enable government to provide various services and goods to the public. So, why procurement is subject to public scrutiny? Firstly, because procurement is involving public funds, so the public have the right to know and question the government accountability regarding all the procurement has done. And next is because there has been a lot of issues regarding unneeded and inefficient procurement for developing country. So this is to examine how well is the government procurement. So we proceed with the procurement framework, which is we have three parts: the agencies involved, the legal and regulatory framework, and also the tender process. So for the agencies involved in procurement, we have four: federal government, state government, government department, and also local authorities. And next, we proceed with the legal authority. We have four. First is the Government Contract Act 1949, which is to empower ministries to make procurement on behalf of the government. Next is the Malaysia Outlines. Next is the Financial Procedures Act 1957, which is to provide control and management of public finance in Malaysia and outlines financial and accounting procedures. Next, we have Treasury Instructions, which is issued by the Ministry of Finance regarding financial and accounting procedures that need to be followed in the management of government funds. Next is Treasury Circulars, issued by the Ministry of Finance from time to time to update and clarify regarding procurement whenever required by the government. And lastly is the Federal Central Contract Circulars, which is also issued by Ministry of Finance to inform users on the availability of common usual items which are centrally purchased. We proceed with the tender process. We have two. First one is the threshold approval, which is for any procurement over 500,000 ringgit. And next, and another tender process is e-procurement, which is online procurement. In addition, we proceed with the policies of procurement. We have five. First one, when we are doing procurement, we need the policies is to stimulate growth of local industries, and next is to support involvement of Bumiputra entrepreneurs to create Bumiputra commercial and industrial community. Thirdly is to promote service-oriented local industries. The fourth one is to accelerate economic growth, and lastly to enhance the capabilities of local industry. You guys understand? Alright.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the principle of procurement. In general, government procurement is essentially based on the five principles. So the first one is public accountability. Procurement should obviously reflect public accountability and trusted with the government, which should purchase the best on behalf of public. So the second principle is transparency. All procurement regulations, conditions, procedures and process need to be clear and transparent to facilitate better understanding among suppliers and contractors. So the third principle is value for money. Government procurement should yield the best returns for every Malaysian ringgit spent in terms of quality, quantity, timeliness, price and sources. So the fourth principle is open and fair competition. Processes involving government procurement should offer fair and equitable opportunities to all those participating or competing in any procurement. So the last principle of procurement is fair dealing, which is all acceptable bids will be processed fairly based on current rules, policies and procedures. So next we moving on to the categories of procurement. So basically there are three categories, which are works, supplies and services. For works categories, contract of construction and engineering activities involving infrastructure and structures such as building, airports, roads and etc. So the next category is supplies, which means the supply of raw materials, intermediates and finished goods and products. For example is construction materials, food products, uniform, vehicle and equipment. So for the last categories of procurement is services. Services divide by two categories, which is consulting services and non-consulting services. For consulting services, usually intellectual in nature and not equipment intensive. For example, like finance and accounting services. So for the non-consulting services, usually involve the use of equipment and specific methodologies to achieve their objective. For example, like repairs, maintenance and cleaning services. So after category, we moving on to the regime of procurement. Regime, we have 5 regimes of procurement. The first one is central purchase, which is for common user item to promote local products and develop vendors. Central purchase works with other department and agency to consolidate our orders for product to make use of economy of scale for receiving cheaper prices. So the second regime is direct purchase, which is supplies and services up to the value of 50,000 and 50,000 through government order. So the next one is quotation. Quotations are supplies and services above the value of 50,000 and up to 500,000, and it's basically up to 5 quotations. So the next one is tenders. Tender are work, supplies and services above the value of 500,000. So the last one is direct negotiation, which is high value procurement, which is urgent or few reportable suppliers or contractors. So the last one, we moving to e-procurement. E-procurement can be defined as purchase and sale via a web interface or other network device. It is for the government to facilitate the procurement process easily. The activity that government can do in this e-procurement is plan and expenditure and procurement. The next one is search, select, evaluate and appoint supplier to provide supplies or services and etc. That's all. Thank you.
So we proceed to the next part, which is the issues that the public procurement are facing right now. So the first issue is the benefits from the data and analytics, and the second one is getting the most out of suppliers, and the third one is building strategies for effective engagement with suppliers. So the first issue is that the realizing benefits from data and analytics. Data and analytics help you see where you are spending money when you are making wise investment and where you could be saving money. But because of how difficult it can be embed new purchasing approach, it can be hard to convince everyone that you need to start factoring in data and analytics. Even though moving to an e-procurement system can streamline the entire process, saving time and increasing productivity in the long run, the pace of switching to an electronic system for better data and analytics can be hard to get through. That makes it so difficult to really see the benefit of making the switch. There is also the issue of ensuring data accuracy. If you cannot get everyone on board with the new procedures and you have got people who are still buying outside of the system, then the data in the system won't accurately reflect what is actually going on in the organization. So this will make it hard to make data-driven decisions about anything related to the procurement. With a centralized system, however, it can be easier for central government departments to keep track of contract awards, tender documents and other things that are required to have within the legal framework. The more information you can store in the system, the more accurate the data and the more streamlined the procurement process becomes. So the next issue is for the public procurement, getting the most out of suppliers. in government procurement, it can be difficult to find and quality suppliers due to all the procurement regulation and also the compliance issues. Even if you find reasonable supplier or two to work with to meet your needs, even it can be hard to maintain smooth supply chain performance, because if they run into an issue, it could trickle down and affect you. It is not enough to make promises, because to keep the supply chain moving as smoothly as possible, you must be able to foster long-lasting relationship with your buyers, and to do this, you must be able to deliver according to customer expectations. Yes, we want high-quality product at low cost, and it will be nice if you could get it with free next day delivery. But it is important to be realistic with your suppliers, because in that situation, even though it is ideal, but it is not attainable, and it is so difficult, and sometimes it is impossible to find a single supplier to handle multiple needs. Be realistic with your suppliers, because we need to understand they must make a profit to stay in business, and focus on creating more efficient and effective ways to work with them, so that they can offer us the saving in other ways. So for the last issue for the public procurement is that in building the strategies for effective engagement with suppliers. So supply relationship management is critical to the success of any organization, but it becomes difficult to manage if the right strategies are not in the place. When you add the challenges associated with governance and compliance, it makes it even more difficult. No matter how good your procurement strategy is, it won't matter if your supplier engagement is not where it should be. So if your suppliers cannot deliver your order on time or in the requested quantity, you will spend more time, more money and manpower on market research and getting quotes from other vendors. So there are three issues that the public procurement are facing right now. So we're moving on to the reasons why these issues are happening right now. So the first one is the lack of proper planning, and the next one is lack of ethics among procurement workforce. There is also lack of transparency in financial information system and contracting operation, and also there is the lack of alignment of responsibilities among key officials in managing awards and oversight of contracts. The next reason is that there is a lack of skills and training of procurement workforce. Plus, we can see that the accountability and performance requirement are not clearly spelled. And the last reason for this issue to happen is that there are lack of guidance for managing the contracts, especially the cost management.
Alright, now what should we do to mitigate the issues faced regarding the procurement? You should apply the procurement best practices. Firstly, the procurement management process needs to be conducted in accordance with the regulations. For example, the procurement needs a proper planning, ensure that budget is allocated and the quotation need to be clear and complete. Next, the skills and knowledge in handling procurement need to be heightened. Trainings need to be conducted periodically at all levels, such as ministry, department and agency. Job rotation in various aspects of procurement is also essential in ensuring procurement handling skills is equipped. Furthermore, the work system and capability of personnel need to be enhanced. How should they do it? For example, by establishing procurement division or unit so it is more efficient. Next, all information regarding procurement need to be updated, and this is under the responsible of the ministry, agency and the department. Lastly, the internal auditor. Internal auditor should play their role in assessing the procurement governance. This is when the procurement audit comes into the picture. Now, what is procurement audit? It is to provide assurance that procurement and contracting activities such as purchasing goods, works and services are compliant with the policies and performed to the best satisfaction. So to illustrate, in Malawi, the Office Deputy of Public Procurement ran an internal capacity assessment. As a result, many lessons from the Malawi practices could be highlighted, so the improvement could be made in the near future. But we need to bear in mind that
all of these best practices will not be efficient without an efficient procurement system. An effective procurement system would have a regulatory framework that address all government contracts regardless of funding source. Next, as we all know, bidding is one of the procurement regimes. So effective and fair procedural rules are essential in open competitive bidding. This will ensure that there is no bias in the bidding process. Furthermore, government officials involved in purchasing must be independent from vendors, bidders, interested parties, politicians and political appointees. So this is to ensure that there is no conflict of interest. Lastly, the most important thing, transparency. Alright, this is to ensure that trust and confidence in the procurement system. But why is transparency is that important? So you guys have any idea?
Minimize threat of corruption.
Promotes efficiency.
Encourage more competitive environment.
Yes, correct. And lastly, attain value for money in public service provisions. Thank you.
So, there are a lot of information that we have discussed today, but remember my friend, we also need to relate this information with our religion. So there are two Islamic perspectives that we can get from this discussion. The first one in Surah Al-Isra verse 27. Innal mubazzirina kanu min ikhwani syayatin wa kana syaitan li rabbihi kafura. Surely the squanderers have been brethren of Ash-Shaytan, and Ash-Shaytan has ever been disbelieving to this Lord. So this verse is related to the equipments received are not utilized or underutilized over purchases of equipments. So the unutilized equipments are considered as a wastage. So thus, wasting is a bad behavior and considered as the brethren of Shaitan. So the next Islamic perspective is that in the Surah An-Nisa verse 58, God commands you to return trust to their rightful owners, and if you judge between people, to do so with justice. God's instruction to you are excellent, for He hears and sees everything. So this verse is related to the responsible to fulfill the right of others. So this verse is for those who are non-compliant to the rules and regulation and policies, such as if the payment has been made but the maintenance jobs are not carried out. So we should fulfill the right of others, because it is an obligation for us and it is an order from Allah.